My name is Ben, and I am a targeted individual. And I guess it's about time that I tell my story. I've been trying to tell my story on YouTube and TikTok for 4 years, and so it got out there a little bit. Like my previous YouTube channel had 180,000 views, Ben Jammin, before it was confiscated by the weaponized justice system in my hometown of Amarillo, Texas, the Randall County justice system. And before I go any further, I would like to say there are good men and women that work there, so please don't get it twisted. It is very similar. Actually, it's identical to what happened to President Trump. In fact, the timelines were happening at the same time. Like, I was in jail, and like things were happening to me, getting blamed for things. Like, I was watching it happen to President Trump, at the same time that I was going through it. So the good thing about all of it is that I was there, and I was able to pray, and I was able to see things and notice patterns and so on and so forth. So there was a lot of good that came out of it, and I documented everything. And I have written a book, and I'm putting it together. I have all of it. I just need to put it together, and then I have a few more chapters to write. But I did want to just share my story on formerly known as Twitter, which is now X, because Elon Musk is another man that I look up to, and I was praying for as well. I'm praying for his salvation, and I'm so thrilled with everything that's going on and all of the truth that's coming out. And this is why I've chosen now as a time to go ahead and tell my story, because it's just time. Spirit is leading me to speak about it. So that's what I'm doing. So on this video, I would like to just kind of lay the groundwork, a little bit of my past. I was married for 12 years. I have two children, two sons, and I was born and raised in Amarillo, Texas. And I got married at an early age, and for 8 years I had an average marriage. We had good times, we had bad times, and I loved my wife, and she loved me. And like so many other people, especially in my hometown, they were attacked by a spirit of divorce, and such similar instances about how a best friend or a brother or somebody that the husband was close to would end up having an affair with their wife. And it was the same thing that happened to me. My best friend and my wife had an affair, and it's unfortunate. And my story is not, I'm not trying to throw her under the bus or anything. I definitely had plenty of fault in that too. So it's not a story about like me and her. It's a story about the corrupt justice system in the state of the country. And there are still men that are in that jail that are being persecuted and held without trial. So anyways, after my marriage started to go down the drain, I began to use again, and there's a story behind how that started too, but that's really that was an initiation back like into the world system, because I didn't want to. I did it because somebody that I loved and trusted asked me to. And I know that sounds like a stupid thing, but like when somebody you love and trust asks you to go through hell, you don't mind doing it. So I did, and it was the wrong decision. And I probably could have found the entrance of the dark night of my soul in a different way, but that was how it started. So, and this is important to understand, because this is the definition of pharmakia. This is the Greek word for drug addiction. This is the use of mind-altering substances and sorcery together, and it's all for control. And the person that initiated that with me knew this, and that was the start of my decline, because I openly agreed to that. So like everything that happens with being targeted, and it all starts on a very spiritual level, and that's something that's important about my story, and something that I noticed, and I was given God's keen discernment through all of this and protection. And even though many times my life should have been taken from me, even times I tried to take my own life, God said no, and there was purpose in all of that pain and all of that. And I'm glad now to look back and have this testimony, because it's quite an amazing story, and I'm to a point now in my life where I'm healed enough where I can tell this story and still have joy in my heart, and kind of tell it, from a joyous standpoint, because now I am victorious, and I still live in just a one bedroom. It's not even, it's one room. It's one bedroom. That's my entire house. But, that's okay, because it's progress, and I'm moving forward. And even though they took everything from me, this is still a story of hope. And I love that, and they hate that. So this is what they target you for. They want you to not tell your story. They want to steal your identity, like literally they want to strip you of your identity, not just you stealing it. Stealing your identity is definitely something that goes on during all of this, but literally like your spiritual identity. They want to make you hate God. They want to take your faith from you. They want to crush you mentally and spiritually, and then that manifests physically into sickness and poverty, and all of these horrible things that you see. And that literally, like neurologically, it's been proven that like poverty causes brain damage. It's like narcissistic abuse, which is exactly what they use. And they send people in. They have agents. They're very structured, and they're very diligent in their work, and they don't give up. They still haven't given up. You know what I mean? They still are trying to hush me up. And it shows, like on my TikTok. Me and my sons were just talking about this last night, how you can get on, and look at other people telling their story that have similar stories to mine, and they're getting lots of attention, and that's great, and I love that, you know what I mean? And I encourage that, and this is part of why I'm doing this, because even though they have been able to hush me over there, I'm still putting the energy out there, and I'm still fulfilling my mission that God gave me, and I'm telling my story. And part of my mission was bringing a message of warning to these people that they had an opportunity to accept God's messenger and his message. And that was always what I started with, even though I was in a rage at these people when it very first started, and I didn't understand how the justice system could be doing this to me. Like, I'm not this is ridiculous. I have proof, and how can you hold me in jail like this? And my lawyer's not even doing anything. He's just straight telling me, it's like, well, I can't do anything. I'm like, what do you mean you can't do anything? I've given you the way, like, all you got to do is get this proof right here, so it's in black and white. And I was just getting stonewalled, and it was just, it's intimidation and coercion and no due process, and all of these things together is just a straight attack on the Constitution. And I realized that immediately, that's what they were doing. And I tried to go through the proper channels, like write the sheriff. That was a mistake, because he's like the one they put in there to get the other sheriff out so they could put the corrupt one in. So, there were some steps that I took at first that God kept me from seeing, the big picture until later on, because what it did is it straight implicated them, you know what I mean? Like, they knew full well what I knew about the situation, because I expected them to be upholding the Constitution and the laws, but that's exactly the opposite of what they were doing. And I believe that not only did they target me, but I believe that they were paid to target me. And that's unfortunate, because that's not justice at all. So this is my introduction to me and being targeted.